Hey folks, my name is René Enriquez and you are watching Uncensored.
This is René Enriquez. Nickname Boots. Blackhand of the Mexican Mafia. Prison gang politics.
Hey folks, my name is René Enriquez and you are watching Uncensored. Well, today I got a special treat. Went back into the archives and found some really antiquated video. In fact, this is The Black Hand. This is The Black Hand in its inception. This is the book, The Black Hand, when we first started interviewing. This is Chris Blatchford and I and Sergeant Richard Valdemar from the very first Mexican Mafia task force. Richard Valdemar is an old dinosaur. He is one of the lead detectives in the Los Angeles Metropolitan Task Force on Violent Crime, the first Mexican Mafia task force in Los Angeles that investigated the Mexican Mafia. So I had a bunch of VHS tapes and I had one converted. My editor converted one, and I saw what it was, and from this we created The Black Hand. We started with a series of interviews and notes, and it just went on for 6 years until we came out with The Black Hand until it was published. But I want you to see how we discussed things and how the organization was at the time. Because this is immediately after I dropped out from the organization in 2002. I was at Walnut Sheriff Station, and I was allowed to meet with Chris Blatchford in an I room, which is an interview room. So I'm going to run this video, and we're going to unpack it as we go. I hope you enjoy it, folks. And just a heads up, we're going to run these series of tapes. There are probably about 10 tapes. We're going to break them into a series. And then as soon as we get done this, I am going to read The Black Hand for you. But we'll stop along the way with annotation. We'll give you little anecdotes and stuff like that that wasn't in the book. So you're going to get this video series, the book, and a bunch of anecdotes that weren't in the book. And we're going to start this now. We're going to unpack this video as we go along. I hope you enjoy it, folks. Here we go. These are the hard rules. You brought those up. Everybody has these rules. And there's just 3 hard rules that everybody says that if you violate one of these rules, if you're a rat, a coward, or homosexual, that you die automatically without a vote. It's not even necessary to float it. If you have concrete proof against a member that violates one of these rules, you can kill them. And then there's the gray rules. There's no politicking on a brother. You can't have sex with a member's wife. You can't steal from a brother. You can't create dissension in an organization. Membership is for life. There's just a whole variety of them. And there is a subjective interpretation on all the rules. But the bottom line is everybody violates the rules. Everybody's having sex with members' wives on the streets. They're in prison doing life, and they're having sex with the members' wives. Everybody's stealing from members. Everybody's politicking, trying to get somebody killed on their lista. So it's really chaotic to sit back and really ironic to sit back and listen to individuals say, he broke the reglas. And the reglas are what we consider the rules, the regulations. So you hear members get up and espouse this old doctrine of discipline and adherence to the rules and going back to the old rule of thumb, and you know they've broken every rule in the book. Let's stop it right there. Remember, this is at a time in 2002 when I dropped out and I was just transferred to Walnut, California. I was flown down to Long Beach, California in Sheriff Baca at the time. It was Sheriff Baca's turboprop King Air. I was brought down by the FBI, landed at Long Beach, and sheriffs were there, and the SSU was there as well. I remember Dan Avanella was there, Richard Valdemar was there, Glenn Hotema from the FBI, and we disembarked from the plane. We got into this little van, and it was like a 1970s van with big windows on the side, with curtains, a couch in the back, and we're going down the 605 freeway towards the 60. And I spotted a Ferrari, and Glenn Hotema pushed the curtain back on the side of the van, and he said, check that out. And we were passing by Cerritos Mall, and I said, wow, that's a Ferrari. It was a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, and it was just all muscle. And I couldn't see anything after that. because it was a surveillance van. It was a special van that was purchased by the SSU, the Department of Corrections, to conduct surveillance. And Dan Avenella was driving. Um, and I remember this, right? I remember this distinctly. But I wanted to talk about the rules real quick. I digress. There's going to be a lot of these memories popping up during this video because this is years and years ago. I mean, look how young I was. Check out the stash, too. That stash was rocking, bro. Yeah, I dare say it's all gray now. But yeah, the imposition of rules, it's really dependent on your socio-political status in the organization. In other words, if you got juice, you can break all the rules. Everybody breaks the rules, right? And we're going to show you instance after instance after instance, as I have in past episodes that I've done where Cardenales speak on the phone and they're dry snitching. And I'm not speaking bad about the brothers, right? This is just the nature of the business, right? But there are some instances where members go out and do interviews with law enforcement officials, and that is breaking the rules. I'm going to bring that to you. I'm going to show it to you. But again, remember, this is how we started The Black Hand, the book that started it all. And they're sitting back talking about members. So this guy's got to go. This guy's got to go. This guy's got to go. And pretty soon you say, like, 75% of the organization has to go, doesn't it? Then who are the 25% that are going to stay in? The individuals who have the strongest power in the organization. And it's a continuous movement to rid people of opposition, adversaries. You're ridding people, you're ridding adversaries down the line. And it's like jockeying, Machiavellian really. You know, you're using people for votes, you're using ex-voto tactics, you're doing favors for individuals in order to get objectives passed. And it's much like lobbyists. You know, we'll go out with an idea that 3 or 4 of us have an idea that we want to start a kitty for the organization, or we want to start halt the green lighting in neighborhoods. There was a phenomenon where there were green lighting neighborhoods. And 3 or 4 of us will go out, strong personalities, leadership qualities, and we go out and we start floating this idea in the visiting room. And we go to our friends, and we'd ask our friends to go to their friends in the organization. So, you know what, we need this, man. We need this. We want to get this done. We want to stop this. It's a good thing for the neighborhoods. We think it was wrong for Chuco and all those guys to green light neighborhoods in their entirety. If somebody's going to be targeted, let's target the specific individual responsible for the offense, and then we'll sanction that specific person. And we go about it that way. And, you know, we do favors for them, they do favors for us, and we know that when a vote comes around that they want done, we're going to vote for them. Simple politics 101 here, folks. Simple mob politics, how you get shit done. It's just the reality of the mob, right? Ex-voto tactics, you know, you use your socio-political skills, you schmooze, you agree to some stuff that you don't want to agree to, but you know it's going to further your objective. This is it in a nutshell. Machiavelli, The Prince, The 48 Laws of Power. And people always ask, what books do you read? What books do you read? How'd you get this smart? And I'm not really that smart. You know, it's just survival, really. I mean, you adapt, right? The human being is an amazingly versatile animal, and we adapt. We adapt to our environments, and this is the environment that I existed in, right? Politics. You know, I once heard a YouTuber say that he never participated in politics, and I believe that's probably a misinterpretation, right? Because everybody participates in politics. Now, I wasn't a dirty politician. I did what I did because it was for the organization. And anytime you participate in any elimination, you're politicking. You're politicking, bottom line. That's just what it is, right? So this is really, on a large scale, politicking within the organization to pass objectives and push the organization toward a specific objective. And it's kind of hard to do that when you're dealing with 40 guys that all consider themselves generals. There's no centralized leadership system. And every one of them have a personality disorder and are extremely violent. So just think about existing in that environment and doing this kind of stuff as you're listening to this interview. It's a pretty dirty business. It's a pretty dirty business.
Well, I mean, but you can lay the rat label on anybody for almost anything.
And that is Chris Blatchford speaking there.
I mean, I've been called a rat, a coward, a PC 1,000 times in the organization. You know, everybody's soiled up. Yeah. When it comes to politics in the organization, no holds barred. You can be called everything. Oh, he's no good. You know, he's a coward. He didn't kill that guy on such and such date. Well, what they're not saying is that I couldn't kill the guy because he was in a different prison. You know, I got the contract, but I couldn't kill the guy. Or, you know, it's he got locked up with a knife, and he wanted to get locked up, so he didn't do the hit. What they're not saying is that they raided my house and found a knife in myself before I was able to do the hit. So it's a play, a tiny bit of reality, and a whole lot of BS that they put into politics. That's why they call it politicking. Because
And a lot of the guys have been locked up for 10, 20, 50, 25 years,
Really?
too, that are calling the shots. I mean, do you get a sense that they don't know, they know their world, but they don't know the real world?
really, they're out of touch with reality of society. I mean, because the upper echelon in the organization, and this is a small faction in the organization, you're looking at a microcosm of the Mexican Mafia, the members in prison, they're almost obsolete. We are, like, I ran a crew, a highly reticulated, organized crew that produced large figures of money. Maybe a year, 7 figures, easy. I mean, we had guys that own businesses, and you know, they drive.
Let me stop that real quick before we get too far ahead. I was talking about individuals being out of touch, and that's the reality. Individuals are out of touch, right? All they understand is their circle, their world, and all they care about it is the all they care about is the crew functioning, and they receive what's important to them, their money. That's all that's important. So members are really out of touch. Been in prison 30, 20, 35 years, and they're out of touch with reality because this is their reality. All that exists is the organization and prison world, right? So let's continue with the conversation with Chris Blatchford.
Escalades and Lexus and BMWs. These are guys that are really strong business dealers in the streets with legitimate businesses as well as narcotics. But I made the lower spectrum of the money. I was the lowest paid guy in the crew. Although I was the most powerful, the crew was mine. The strength was in my crew. That was my power. I had the ability to do anything I wanted. I didn't step on their necks for money because I understood they're the money makers. I'm just the figurehead. This is a license. They're paying me to use my name. A lot of guys in the organization are out of touch with that aspect.
That's where the principle of franchising comes in. You license your name. This is a Fortune 500 business practice, right? Franchising, you license your name. They pay you to use your name, and they fall beneath your umbrage, right? And it's a simple tactic where you say, look, just give me what you feel is right. And you know they're making 10 times, what they say they're making. And that's okay because it's cumulative. If I get $50 here, $100 here, $200 there, it's cumulative at the end of the month. So the reality is I don't need much. I need my people to be taken care of. I need the drugs that I want. I want the people eliminated that I want eliminated. And the power is in the crew, not in the money. That's your power, right? And your ability to effectuate whatever endeavor you want to undertake. That's power.
They demand higher payments, which breeds disloyalty, dissatisfaction in the crews. And they think that the Mexican Mafia is omnipotent, that they can say, hey, I want that done. Well, there's guys out there that are much stronger than we are. Gangs, organized crime groups that are much stronger than us. They don't understand the strength is in allowing individuals to use our name to prosper. That's the strength in the organization. A lot of guys... Go ahead.
I mentioned that in my class.
This is Richard Valdemar speaking of Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. He's on the FBI Task Force, Los Angeles Metropolitan Task Force on Violent Crime, one of the first task forces formed to investigate the Mexican Mafia in Los Angeles.
I call it the Tupperware theory. All the money is in the lower end. That keeps your soldiers loyal to you. You only need a small amount to reach the top from all the different sources. That's a good living in the prison system.
I call it trickle-up economics. Remember the old aspect of trickle-down?
Yeah.
It's trickle-up. We're the lower spectrum of the wage earners. I made maybe 40 a year, which, it allowed me to take care of my family, put my kid to college. It allowed me to do some things that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to do.
Let me clarify that, right? I helped my kid in college. I didn't pay the entire bill. My kid got a scholarship, but I helped him. I want to clarify that because everybody has a concept that I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on college tuition, and that's not the case. So my kid did it on his own, has his own independent life, and has nothing to do with this.
And I was satisfied with that aspect of the money. I could have stepped on their necks for more money. I could have asked, and they would have gave me more money. And that's besides the favors that I was done, car repairs, gifts that I wanted done, favors that were taken care of for other people. So it was okay. It was blue-collar money. I mean, if I would have been out on the streets, I would have been making 7 figures easy.
Yeah. Going
Because-
back to the rat thing,
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you about there's a fine line between getting along with the guards, right, and some people within your organization considering that to be, fraternizing with the enemy.
Mhm.
Was that a difficulty?
Well, it depends upon your I've always functioned well with upper administration. I've had meetings with wardens, senatorial staff, politicians, floor staff, even down the line staff, and law enforcement. It depends upon your persona and the individuals that you function with. If they know you well enough, they're not going to say anything about you. But if you see a guy going out talking to the cops and, over fraternizing, over familiarizing himself with them, then there's suspicion. But I was always secure in the knowledge of who I was. When I was going out and doing this thing, it was for the furtherance of Mexican Mafia objectives. And I never worried about what anybody said. Because if they said something like that, it would get back to me. And if it got back to me, that would then issue a challenge. If you feel that I'm an informant or something, let's deal with it. Let's rock and roll.
I mean, some guys have different places in the organization too. I mean, some guy might just be a killer, right? He might be a dumbass. Right?
Everybody has their station in life.
Yeah.
In the organization, that's true as well. I mean, you have guys that are in society, they're trash men, they're garbage collectors. You have individuals that fix the plumbing. You have individuals that are doctors. You have individuals that are barbers. And the Mexican Mafia is no different. It's based on this direct democracy principle, this egalitarianism. But in reality, individuals float to the top. True leaders, and even in societal groups such as animals, canines, the strongest, most ferocious dog comes to be the alpha male. This is how it happens in the organization. Obviously, you put a group of men together, and one guy's going to look better, he's going to speak better, he's going to be more intelligent, he's going to be able to handle a specific function better than another individual can. There's individuals in the organization that are illiterate, that are nothing but heroin addicts, that have the gang mentality and they're thugs, and they're always going to be that. They'll never seek to improve themselves. Those are guys that are lower rung.
That holds true today, that everybody has their station in the organization. There's guys that are just strung out on heroin on the main line, shooting dope every day. And that's all they care about, their cell phone and their dope. They go to the yard, they eat ice cream, drink soda pop. That's all they care about, the next fix. They have no crews. The organization supports them. Pretty much dead weight, right? But they're long-term members. They've got a couple notches on their belt. And everybody accepts that, right? When it's time, they'll be sent on a mission. That's just how it is. And the leaders in the organization today are those guys that have that ability to function with fluidity and think long-term and specifically towards the growth of the organization and their specific financial endeavors, right? Because when one member has a crew and he's doing well and he's pulling in 6-7 figures a year, he's not thinking about the other brothers. He does take care of other brothers and the people within his political block, right? Because there are political blocks, like political action committees, or like PACs, right? Brothers align themselves with like-minded individuals who have a lot of influence, carry vote, carry juice. They're called carnadas de palabra, right? You circle yourselves with these guys and keep them in your business. You share some of the money with them. You invite them into some businesses with you. And it just creates a strong bond, right? But those guys, they don't think about everybody else. They're thinking about their crew, their money, their power. So just keep this in mind as you're watching it.
Those are lower rung. They'll never be anything more than gang members. Then you go up to mid-level individuals that have some intellect, that have some ability to communicate, have some form of vision. Then you go to the upper echelon where the guys are running large crews, setting policy, gathering votes, pushing the organization towards contemporary organized crime. And this is the upper echelon. So there's individuals that fall in every spectrum of a position in terms of their status and hierarchy in the organization, even down to the lower rung people that we consider no accounts. And there's a lot of those individuals that are no accounts.
Do you see the organization take on a different person? You've been in what, maybe 20 years?
Almost 18 years.
Almost 18 years.
Involved
Do you
about 20.
see the guy who was the major shot caller? You see the organization, say like when Morgan was alive, was it different than today? Because does it take on his personality?
It'll never be any one person, and it's never been about any one person. Any one person that steps up and says, much like Benny Peters was doing during the indictments, I'm the godfather of the Mexican Mafia, had the body in mass found out about this, they would have killed him. because no one person will control this many people. You have to consider it a collection of generals, like the Joint Chiefs. This is a collection of generals, and if I go to you and I tell you I'm running this organization, you're going to just turn around and everybody's headstrong, let's kill him. It can't be done that way. This is a ferocious beast that needs coaxing, caressing. To run it, it's very dangerous. This is the kind of beast that'll turn around and bite your hand off. So while you're at the helm, you have to understand that you're vulnerable to politics as well. Even though that you've killed for the organization, you've got life sentences for the organization, you've dedicated your whole life. I mean, you've created folklore in the organization. I mean, we have our own lore, we have our own culture, we have our own history, our own art, and you're part of this.
That's that right there. That. I was speaking about myself right there. Like, I had killed for the organization. I got willingly accepted 3 life sentences for the organization. Then I get thrust in this position where, I'm going out having meetings with the senators, going and talking about the peace talks, and I'm in the center of it. That's when the politics started to really fly, right? And I understood then. No, I think I understood way later that I went about it all wrong. I wasn't a politician, I didn't really know how to function in that realm. I did what I thought was best when I should have did what was best for political longevity, right? That's what I should have done. And I wasn't squeaky clean like all these other guys, like some of these guys that have no flaws and they're pristine in their image of the Mexican Mafia. I wasn't one of those guys, I was just a kid when I got in, and I learned along the way. I guess I became a man in prison, but I wasn't really a man. I was an adult. I became an adult in prison, but I didn't really know what it was to be a man, right? Like, I think you learn that way later in life, what a man really does, like go to work and raise the kids and pay the bills, and that's a man. That's what I think is gangster, right? This sounds gangster, this all sounds gangster, whacking people and being tipped up and making your bones, and that all sounds gangster. But I'm a firm believer that gangsters are the guys that get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go drive a big rig, or go down in the mine, or drive the bus that they drive, or go be a clerk at a store, all to support their family. They forego all the creature comforts just to support their family. That's freaking gangster. So just at this point, I had come to the realization, like, you need a lot to survive in the organization, right? You have to be about something, right? And I obviously didn't have it. I couldn't survive in the organization. I'll be the first to admit that. I lost my edge, right? A lot of people say, oh, he got scared, he got this. No, I done none of that, Oh, but the truth was, I was afraid every day. 17 and a half years as a member, afraid every freaking day, But it wasn't that, I mean, I could have killed. I could have eliminated people. I could have continued politicking. I don't think I could have survived the last campaign after all that I had been through. And I didn't want to, really. I didn't want to.
You're part of this. And it doesn't matter what you've done, because everybody's expendable. But it's not about one person. It's not about one guy.
But were there periods, though, where, you saw the influence of one person sort of shape the personality of the whole?
No.
Like, say, if you get somebody who's, very despotic and wants to kill everybody, is everybody much more...
Well, we bring those people in. There's been periods where individuals have wrested control of the organization, or a clique of individuals. Usually a clique of individuals. They've wrested control of the organization, and they've committed murders. They've killed good members. And eventually, we have an old saying in Spanish, todo sale al flote. Everything comes out in the end. Everything comes out in the wash. And these guys are exposed for what they are: despotic rulers with specific agendas to control the organization and rid themselves of adversaries. When we see this happening, we call it an abuse of power, and we kill those individuals. They're usually killed, or they're targeted, they're placed on the least. All that matters is they're discredited.
So one of those people was Daniel Grajeda. He did this for years. Guate. Horrible politician. He wanted so many people killed. He was responsible for people being eliminated. It's the truth. All he cared about was his go-to was, we have to get back to basics, traditional mafia rules, and that would mean this guy's got to go, this guy's got to go, this guy's got to go, and it happened for years. And he was able to move around Pelican Bay State Prison even after he was assaulted by Henry Carlos Indio, who, by the way, was right when he assaulted him. The only thing he did wrong was didn't finish it, but he was completely 100% correct in what he did. But Guate was still allowed to function and move from cell to cell to cell with other cardenales and poison them and create other followers, right? Like little sycophants. Like sycophants, like a bootlicker, like a yes man, right? And he had all these cardenales who had lower level juice agreeing with him, kind of like a cult. I mean, when you really think about it, he had this little brainwashing power, and he did that. These are the guys we're talking about, right? There's been a few of them, and they've all fell by the wayside.
Once they're discredited, they're isolated. And after that, it's a matter of time before they're got to. Now, there's a phenomenon where we can't get to individuals. So they're isolated. Their credibility is destroyed. We can't get to people in Pelican Bay. We can't get to some guys in the streets because they won't come to the meetings. They'll avoid everything that has to do with associating with other mobsters that can kill them, because the rule is only mobsters can kill mobsters. So as long as they stay away from mobsters, out of arm's reach, they can't be killed. So now we isolate them, we destroy the credibility. There's a different phenomenon occurring now, whereas violence is not that effective because we can't effectuate the conspiracy. So now we reduce their credibility. We make sure everybody that's anybody understands that their voice is no good, and they're pretty much members in name only.
All right, folks, I'm going to have to stop this video here. I hope you like this first segment. It's a teaser. We got much more to come. The reality is I have to go to church. So, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We're going to unpack this and give you inside information on these interviews and how the book was formed and what went into the book. Because all this stuff I've talked about when I paused the video went into the book. And you're seeing how that formed, how that gelled, how that created the book. With that said, folks, hope you enjoy the video. Peace out.
This is René Enriquez. Nickname Boots.